Thank you, Mr. Clerk. I call the order of the City of South Fulton virtual regular council meeting Tuesday, September 28, 2021 at 4 p.m. Mr. Clerk, roll call, please.
It's the roll call for today's meeting. The Honorable William Bill Edwards, Mayor.
Here.
The Honorable Catherine F. Weil, District 1.
Present.
The Honorable Carmelita Gums, District 2.
Present.
The Honorable Helen Z. Willis, District 3.
Present.
The Honorable Naima Gilliard, District 4.
Present.
The Honorable Corey A. Reeves, District 5.
Accounted for.
The Honorable Councilmember Khalid, District 6.
Present.
And the Honorable Mark Baker, District 7.
Present.
Mr. Mayor, you have a quorum.
Okay, Mr. Kaplan, invocation, please.
Yes, sir. Let us pray. Dear gracious God, we are so grateful and thankful for all the many blessings that you have bestowed upon us and this entire city. For our leadership, we are so grateful. Continue to pour out your wisdom and knowledge upon us so that all that is said and done, again, is according to your will and your way. This we pray. Let us all say amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Mr. Chaplain. Mr. Clerk, next item, please.
Next item is Roman numeral 5, adoption of the council agenda.
Mr. Clerk, I wish to have item 10, subpart number 3, removed from the consent agenda and tabled until we receive supporting from the developers.
What number is that?
On the consent agenda, number 10, sub number 3, on the South Fulton Commerce Center.
3.
Second.
Okay, what else?
And I wish to have that table. Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
And I was just saying, and I wish to have the table till we receive some reports from the developer.
Okay, Mayor Pro Tem, I heard you.
Yes, Councilmember Reeves and I spoke. We want to remove the ethics resolution from the agenda.
What's the
22.
22. We're going to probably bring back it is an ordinance, but we want to add something to the ordinance. So Attorney Hyman, can you please get with Councilmember Reeves? And now you already spoke with me last week, but we probably need a conference call before we bring this back to the council.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay,
All right, thank you.
any other changes?
Mr. Mayor, I believe the city manager wishes to remove item 14 and 16 from the consent agenda and add them to the regular agenda for discussion.
Yes, she did mention that.
And the last thing I have is I did receive after the printing of the agenda, Mayor Pro Tem Willis wishes to appoint Cangelin Dexter to the Street Renaming Task Force Committee, and that is on the consent agenda as well.
All right. Any further changes?
This is Councilwoman Gomes, would like to add Correll Driscoll to the renaming committee. I don't know if you received that from me, Corey. I didn't see it on the agenda.
I did not receive it, but I have so noted it for the record.
Thank you.
Okay, anything else? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion.
I move that we approve the city council meeting, the council agenda for Tuesday, September 28th, 2021 with the amended with the requested changes.
So moved.
Properly moved in second. Discussion. Hearing none, let's vote, please.
It's a roll call vote. Councilmember Rao,
Yes.
Councilmember Gums,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Willis,
Yes.
Councilmember Gilliard,
Yes.
Councilmember Reeves,
Yay.
Councilmember Khalid,
Yes.
Councilmember Baker.
Aye.
The agenda is approved as amended.
Next item, Mr. Clerk.
Next item is approval of city council meeting minutes. We have the regular meeting minutes from August 24th, 2021. We also have the work session minutes from September 14th, 2021. We have the zoning public hearing minutes from September 14th, 2021, as well as the FY22 department budget hearings for August 17th and August 19th, 2021, and the FY22 budget public hearings from September 8th and September 15th, 2021.
I'll entertain a motion.
So move.
Is there a
I
second?
move that we adopt the minutes from the city council regular meeting minutes from August 24th.
Councilman Rollins already been
I just need
moved.
a second.
Okay,
I need a second if you want to do that.
second.
Properly moved, seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, let's vote, Mr. Clerk.
Roll call vote to approve the minutes as read. Councilmember Rao,
Yes.
Councilmember Gums,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Willis,
Yes.
Councilmember Gilliard,
Yes.
Councilmember Reeves,
Aye.
Councilmember Khalid,
No.
Councilmember Baker.
Aye.
That item is approved 6-1.
Mr. Chair, I have a question of you before we move on to public comments.
What is that?
Is there a reason why council comments have been taken off of the regular agenda? We voted that we have 2 minutes.
I knew you would ask me that question. And my apologies to you because I wanted to call you and tell you personally. But if you want to entertain, I would entertain anyone who wants to make a personal privilege to say something.
I'm going to go ahead and I'm fine, but I would ask that, will you please allow the clerk to add that back to the next regular council agenda?
After I talk to you, you'll probably understand, but let me allow
Okay.
who wants to take a point of privilege, they can do so.
I just want to tell everybody thank you. I want to take a point of privilege to tell everybody thank you for participating in the environmental justice festival that we had last weekend, and thank you for embracing and participating in the Yeek festival that we participated in, that we held the weekend before last. It was a great showing. It was clean, fun, very community oriented, and we look forward to bringing it back to the city for the 5th time next year. And I would like to encourage all District 3 residents to subscribe to my newsletter and make sure that they are engaging with the meetings so that they can have meaningful input when it comes to the comprehensive development plan and any other planning that we're doing for the city. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Willis. Mr. Clerk?
Mr. Mayor,
Yes. Who am I talking to?
this is Councilman Baker, District 7.
Okay, Dr. Baker, go right ahead.
Yes, sir. Thank you for the opportunity. I just wanted to acknowledge all of the volunteers for the Common Unity series that we hold every month in the Old National LA Fitness parking lot. The turnout has been amazing, and we can't do it without you guys, volunteers who come out in the morning to sort the food. Since April, we've given out from 20 to 50,000 pounds of food per month. And it's a lot of hard work, and I appreciate everyone who volunteers. To continue to volunteer, please follow me on Instagram at Councilman Mark. Shoot me a DM, and we'll make sure that we get you in the slot. Also, on this next Friday, I believe October 8th, we will be celebrating Indigenous People Day. It is the city of South Fulton is the only city in the state that acknowledges Indigenous People Day. And we will have Yonasta Longwolf president. We'll have a land committal and several other ceremonies and things that are taking place for the celebratory process for Indigenous People Day. So please come out, LA Fitness parking lot, 3:30. We're going to still give away the 50,000 pounds of food and celebrate Indigenous People Day. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Baker.
Mr. Mayor, Councilmember Rao has her hand raised.
Councilwoman, Dr. Rao, go ahead.
Thank you. I want to recognize the members of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated, the East Point College Park chapter, for partnering on National Voter Registration Day, which is actually held today. They are at Cascade Sussex Apartments today, registering residents in our city to participate in the political process. So I want to thank them for that partnership.
Thank you, Dr. Rao. Mr. Reeves, Councilman Reeves, go right ahead.
Yes, I just want to let my constituency know that I started Connect with Councilman Corey A. Reeves. It's a live Zoom every Monday night from 6:30 to 7:30. So, and our first meeting was last night, which ended in us in the community with successful proposals for solutions. So, if you want to tune in, just send me an email, corey.reeves@thecityofsoutfulton.ga.gov, and we'll be sure to include you and get you the information. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Reeves. Mr. Clerk.
It's,
Councilmember Gomes has her hand raised.
Go ahead.
I just want to again thank all of the residents that came out to our community yard sale at Wolf Creek Amphitheater on this past Saturday. I do want to give a special shout out to Miss Angela James, who helped coordinate the residents. It was a good time, and it actually has grown each year. So we are looking forward to next year as well. And thank you to all of the residents that came out to participate. So it was a great event. I want to also thank Jacobs for also having the shredding day there as well. And also the Dream staff from Fulton County, and also David Manuel. So thank you so much. And we'll look forward to next year. But I wanted to make sure I extended thank yous to all of those individuals.
Thank you, Mrs. Gunn. Mr. Clerk.
Yes, the next item is public comment. Mayor and council, we did receive a total of 10 comments for public comment. We did receive 5 for live public speaking. So as I call your name, would you please unmute yourself, state your name and address and district, and you will be provided 2 minutes to provide your public comment. The first speaker for today is Ms. Glenda Collins, who lives in District 5. Ms. Collins, are you on the call? Ms. Collins. Okay, the next speaker is Ms. Diane Johnson from District 5. Ms. Johnson, are you on the call? The next speaker is Ms. Ellen Miller Mapp from District 5. Ms. Mapp, are you on the call? And the last live speaker that submitted forms was Marquetta Price from District 5. Ms. Price, are you on the call?
I am.
Okay, please state your name, your district address, and you have 2 minutes.
Thank you. My name is Marquetta Price. I'm in District 5 under Corey Reeves, Councilman Corey Reeves, and I am over in the Sable Chase subdivision. I resubmitted my questions again from last month that I asked in regards to the time to start the meetings from, instead of being 4 o'clock when most residents cannot attend. I also resubmitted my questions and concerns in regards to, I guess, the road situation. I don't know if you guys are aware, a young man lost his life a few days ago. I unfortunately had the misfortune of riding up on that particular accident and had to see something I did not want to see, which was his body. That intersection at Roosevelt and Buffington really needs to be looked at. There's been several accidents, and we really need y'all to be a little bit more aggressive about addressing that. If that's something that's under another city, say College Park or Atlanta, we got to figure out how to talk to people so we can all work together to get this done. I'm willing to do my part. I can't do it with y'all, without y'all. My name is Marquetta. I'm District 5. That's all I have to say. Thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you, ma'am. Mr. Clerk.
Mr. Mayor and Council, I will read the remaining comments in the remaining time we have allowed.
Go ahead.
Okay, the first comment is from Miss Glenda Collins, who lives on Morning Creek Drive in District 5. She states, how many houses are being built in Reagan's Ridge? The concern is the traffic increase with the additional houses. Because of the Stacks Road Bridge need to be repaired or replaced. When the train blocks tracks and accidents occur, it's just standstill. We need the bridge alleviated to help with the traffic flow. Yards are washing away in Reagan's Ridge, and the engineer approved this. In the comment. Next is from Diane Johnson, who lives on Vernier Drive in District 5. When will Stacks Road be reopened? It has been closed for 1.5 years. We don't need any more warehouses in the city of South Fulton. We need quality homes, not like the ones on Reagan's Ridge. Because some of the houses' backyards over there are washing away. In the comment. Next is Ellen Miller Mapp, who lives on Weisbeck Way in District 5. We are concerned about the heavy industrial developments planned for the areas of Mallory Road and Stacks Road under zoning certification 0 and 4380. There are several subdivisions along Mallory Road, and the current traffic infrastructure is insufficient to support the current industrial movement and residential movement. There is no traffic signal in addition to the CXX rail delays that are frequent. Please change the designation for the health and safety of our communities. That's in the comment. Next is Alan Kelly, who lives on Rose Hall Place in District 3. I have concerns with the planned development of 134 single-family rental homes in Parkview Estates. The developer wants to build homes that at 1,800 to 2,200 square feet. We currently have 56 homeowners with 4,000 plus square feet. Why was the additional phases approved on July 9th when the moratorium was implemented on May 25th? In the comment. Next is Simone Rolock, who lives on Tanger Boulevard in District 6. We are a small nonprofit who helps feed, clothe, host events and dinners, provide counseling to the youth, children, men, women, and homeless in the community of South Fulton. We want to expand and get assistance from our own city, but seem to be overlooked by big brand nonprofits. How and will the city of South Fulton partner with more smaller nonprofits like us, commissioned by Love Outreach, in order to assist with the more community needs? In the comment. Next is Mershantri Shime Austin, who lives on Amberlin Square in District 4. When will the city consider the complete repaving of Derrick Road in its entirety? It makes no sense to pave subdivisions off Derrick Road and the main road is still broken and tearing up cars. End of comment. Next is Kia Dye, who lives on Jerome Court in District 5. She requests speed bumps on Old Bill Cook Road from Godby Road to Buffington Road. When did we start having to register our alarm systems with the police? And the last comment is from Mrs. Sonia Patterson, who resides in District 2. She writes, Dear Honorable Mayor and City of South Fulton Council members, with regard to Z21-008, please make it a requirement that this development builder, DR Horton, include an 8-foot perimeter privacy fence to prevent foot traffic from their subdivision into ours. I am a homeowner in Walden Park, whose property is adjacent to the back of this proposed project. I am also adjacent to the Broadstone subdivision, where myself and my neighbors have been dealing with kids walking through our yards to access our subdivision. This has been happening for years. We have asked them to stop, and since we don't know where they live, we cannot bring it to the parents' attention. We have even put up fences in our yards, but the children just walk down to the yard that does not have a fence and still come in with basketballs, bicycles, and friends. Not sure if this new subdivision has plans to have amenities for their residents to use. We support that. If not, the risk of having youngsters who are wanting to access amenities will be higher. To avoid the inconvenience of this ever happening, would like to request that the developer erect an 8-foot around the perimeter of the property to prevent access from foot traffic. Please advise if you would be able to support this request. Many of us wanted to see a premium project in an area so close to premium price homes in Walden Park, Hampton Oaks, Broadstone, and Les Jardins. However, if DR Horton is going to be putting in a project, particularly one without its own planned amenities, we would like to see a requirement for them to have to put up a fence to prevent more foot traffic from coming into our yards and the obvious inconvenience this causes. Thank you. And that completes the public comment, general public comment for today.
Okay, Mr. Clerk, before we go on, Ms. Sadler Jones, are you there? City Manager?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I'm here.
I want to make two simple requests. One is as we dialogue about future economic development that's coming in, there's two things I'd like to see the department do and expand upon. One is when it comes to traffic study. Now, you know, I think everybody should have one. But when we do, we come up to our meetings and we talk about these developments, we only talk about the fact that they have an egress and an ingress. And I think it needs to be expanded because of the traffic that we're having in our city and those caused by other cities that are close by us. I think that's one thing. The second thing is we got to be very much more serious about erosion control and runoff. I've been working with Councilman Reeves, and just to be surprised at the stuff that we're having because of some engineer said it was all right. So I just want to make sure that as we talk about development, they bring projects to us. I would like to see the staff expand more in those two areas.
Okay.
All right. Okay, Mr. Clerk, go ahead.
Next item on the agenda is item 6, rezoning variance and modification cases for vote. The first is Z20-008. This is a request for council to consider a rezoning from AG1 to CUP, Community Unit Plan, for property located at 7195 Butner, 0 West Stubbs, and 3315 West Stubbs. This is located in District 2, and this was held at the May 25th, July 27th, and August 24th regular council meetings.
I'll entertain a motion.
Mayor, this is Councilwoman Gomes. I would like to entertain a motion to move to approve with conditions, and I would like to read those conditions so they're spread across the minutes, please.
Absolutely.
All right, the first condition is to use the property shall be used for the development of no more than 132 single-family detached homes in general conformity with the site plan that is attached as Exhibit A that is included within the Land Development Department for the City of South Fulton. The second one is the minimum square footage shall be as follows: 1-story ranch unit, 2,000 square feet. Second story units would be 2,700 square feet. The third one is the community shall have an internal sidewalk system on both sides of the street, which the system connects to this public sidewalk system to be installed along Butner Road and West Stubbs. The next condition is also that the recreational area shall include a 2,000 square foot swimming pool, a 1,200 square foot clubhouse, and include a tot lot. The next condition is an amenity area shall be developed prior to recording of the final plat for the community, which amenity areas shall include a minimum of a heated clubhouse and pool. The next condition is a 50-foot undisturbed buffer shall be maintained along Butner Road and West Stubbs. The seventh one is no more than one exit entrance shall be located on Butner Road and on West Stubbs. The next condition is no lot shall be allowed direct access from Butner Road on West Stubbs Road. The next condition, I'm sorry, it's long, is each unit shall have a minimum of a 2-car garage, and side entry car garages shall be developed on all corner lots, provided that the topography of the land doesn't make the installation of a side entry garage impractical or more costly than the installation of a front-facing garage. If more than 2 garages are to be built on a corner lot, only 2 of the garages are required to be side entry garages. The next one is exterior facade shall consist of a combination of materials, including hardy plank and brick, stone, stucco, fiber, cementous, shingles, boards, and batten on other masonry material with a brick water table on all 4 sides of each home. The use of vinyl and aluminum siding shall be strictly prohibited, except for an architectural trim, sofas, or other similar details. The elevation shall be substantially like the elevations attached here, which is also included in Exhibit B. The builder shall have the right to add additional elevations that are similar in style to the attached elevations. Also, to all undisturbed buffers, recreational areas, and other unbuildable spaces that are not a part of the platted lot shall be owned and maintained by a mandatory HOA, whose proposed documents or incorporation shall be submitted to the Director of Community Development Department for review and approval prior to the recording of the first plat. A few more. A subdivision monument sign shall be located at the entrance of West Stubbs and shall be landscaped and maintained by the mandatory HOA association. And then I also would like to include the one, 2, at both entrances, there will be a subdivision monument sign at both entrances. Also, 2, a westbound left turn lane shall be installed on West Stubbs Road to provide access to the subdivision. 8-foot fence shall be erected around the perimeter to have a clear separation between the neighboring subdivision, Walden Park, and the new development. And decorative speed tables, 50-foot row for the main thoroughfare to ensure internal access for school buses and to slow down traffic. And the last one is front face facade on homes shall be 100% brick. The remaining side shall be a combination of brick, stucco, hardy plank, and tile or equivalent. And all of this information will be submitted with the approval of the Community Development Director and Regulatory Affairs. And some combination of materials shall not exceed 40% per vertical wall plane. Vinyl and again, aluminum siding is prohibited. Foundation shall not be exposed. So those are the conditions that I am spreading across the minutes for this subdivision to move forward with approval.
Are you making
Second.
Are you making a motion? I didn't hear it, Mayor Pro Tem. But are you
Yes.
making?
Oh, I did make a motion.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Thank you.
And I seconded.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. It's been probably second. Let's go to discussion. Before we go any further, I would like to make one comment. Councilwoman Gums, when you talked about the HOA approval and one of your conditions.
Yes, sir. Which one?
You did not mention them being certified with the state. I think that's
Okay.
you mentioned everybody, but you didn't say the state. I think it's very important that they're filed with the state of Georgia.
Okay, if filed with the state of Georgia, I would like to add that included into the conditions as well.
Okay.
Thank you for that.
Okay, we have Ms. Gilliard. Ms. Gilliard, are you there? Ms. Gilliard, are you there?
Yes, I am there.
Right.
This is not related specifically to the project. I would like to ask Ms. Reed a question as it relates to all development that is coming before us, because I'm beginning to notice that there is nothing that accompanies the development that includes the subdivision turnover regulations. And I would think that it would be appropriate for all developers to know on the front end what their responsibilities are to the community before they walk away and leave it. And Mayor Edwards, I think you know exactly what I'm talking about and the way some developers in the past have done so. And so I don't ever see anything in the documents that the developers have received that regulation. So I would like to know
Thank you.
what is occurring with that.
And I think there's a perfect time to have that discussion. The issue on the floor right now is to approve or disapprove of this, and we can't get to your question, Ms. Gilliard.
Okay,
So the motion on the floor has been carried.
okay.
Any other discussion pertaining to the motion on the floor? Hearing,
Mayor, yes, I'm in the queue.
go ahead, Ms. Willis.
I just wanted to say that we have a HOA turnover ordinance that's coming to the agenda for the next, I've been working on it for over a year now. We're waiting on the state to bring it forth, but the state is now resting it with the local municipalities. And so I will be bringing it to the council next council meeting, regular council meeting. Thank you.
I find that germane to the motion. Mr. Clerk, let's vote, please.
This is a roll call vote to approve the motion by Councilmember Gumbs, seconded by Mayor Pro Tem Willis, with the conditions as stated into the record. And for the record, I do have those conditions as well, which will be attached. Councilmember Rao,
Yes.
Councilmember Gumbs,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Willis,
Yes.
Councilmember Gilliard,
Yes.
Councilmember Reeves,
Aye.
Councilmember Khalid,
Yes.
Councilmember Baker.
Aye.
That item was approved unanimously.
Okay, next item, please.
Next item is item 7, Z21-009. This is a request for council to consider a rezoning at 7445 Old National Highway for the purpose of constructing a mixed-use townhome and retail development. This is located in District 7 and was deferred at the August 24th regular council meeting.
I'll entertain a motion.
Yes, I'd like to make a motion to hold it to the next meeting.
Second.
So move.
How many times has this been deferred, Ms. Clerk?
This will be the second time.
Okay. Properly moved to second. Any discussion?
I do have discussion, Mr. Mayor, since you asked that question. I think it's vital that the community knows more details about it, and I have now resources for the developer to actually have those conversations. The West Road area will be impacted most in my district in regards to this development. The idea of my preliminary conversations with the developer about a dollar store or the possibility of something like that being a part of it is something that the residents have reservations about. And because of the pandemic and their lack of meeting on a regular basis, some of them were just informed after I did a lot of reaching. And now, if you see where those signs were, just like many places in our cities, there's very little turnout to these meetings because the signs are almost ducked off. And with it having no development over there, it's between the bushes of a Jackson Music and the Shell gas station. So I believe before we make a permanent decision, even though this is the second time, but now I have the people on deck so that they can properly speak and vie for how they feel about this development coming to their community is vital.
Thank you, Dr. Baker. I asked that question for a specific reason, is not to force any vote today, but we are looking at the number of times that people bring deferred things on our agendas. So I agree with you totally, but that's why I asked that question. All right, Mr. Clerk.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, you have a motion by Councilmember Baker, seconded by Councilmember Rao, to hold this item to the next regular council meeting agenda.
Okay, let's vote.
Councilmember Rao, roll call vote. Councilmember Rao,
Dr. Rao.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, I didn't realize I was muted.
Councilmember Baker.
Aye.
I'm sorry about that. Yeah, Councilmember Gumbs,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Willis,
Yes.
Councilmember Gilliard,
Yes.
Councilmember Reeves,
Aye.
Councilmember Khalid.
Yes.
That item is held to the next agenda.
Next item, please.
Next item is the consent agenda. On the consent agenda for approval are items 8, 9, 10, except for number 3, South Fulton Commerce Center, that's being tabled. Number 11, 12, 13, 15, 17, 18, 19, and 20.
I'll entertain a motion.
So move.
Is there a second?
Second.
Properly moved in second. Discussion. Hearing none, let's vote, please, Mr. Clerk.
Roll call vote to approve the consent agenda as amended. Councilmember Rao,
Yes.
Councilmember Gums,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Willis,
Yes.
Councilmember Gilliard,
Yes.
Councilmember Reeves,
Aye.
Councilmember Khalid,
Yes.
Councilmember Baker.
Aye.
Consent agenda was approved as amended unanimously.
Next item, please.
Next item is previous agenda items. Item 21, request council approval of an ordinance declaring a state of emergency in the city of South Fulton, providing for city meetings to be held virtually, providing for an effective date and for other purposes. Mayor Edwards.
I will, this is pretty straightforward. I will entertain a motion.
So move.
Second.
Properly moved in second. In discussion. I see Mr. Khalid.
I just want to understand the rationale. At this point, we've required all of our staff to go back to work. I'm just wondering, when are we going to get back to meeting in person?
What's on the floor right now has to do with the continuing virtual meetings and the Maryland Mass, Mr. Khalid. We can entertain that as some other portion in the agenda, but the motion right now to be voted on is simply that.
Right.
Okay. Anyone else? Hearing none. Let's vote, please, Mr. Clerk.
Roll call vote. Councilmember Rao,
Yes.
Councilmember Gums,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Willis,
Yes.
Councilmember Gilliard,
Yes.
Councilmember Reeves,
Aye.
Councilmember Khalid,
No.
Councilmember Baker. Aye. That item is approved 6-1.
Next item, please, Mr. Clerk.
Next item is item 23. Second reading and request council approval of an ordinance to amend Title V, Zoning and Planning, Chapter 2, Subdivision Regulations, and Appendix C, Zoning, Article 8, Procedures and Permits, Section 807, Certificate of Occupancy of the Code of Ordinances, City of South Fulton, Georgia, to regulate the leasing or rental of newly developed single-family residential homes. This is sponsored by Councilmember Rao.
Councilman Rao, I entertain a motion.
I move that we accept for approval the leasing or rental of newly developed single-family residential homes regulations as outlined in the ordinance.
So
Second.
move.
Been properly moved in second. Any discussion?
Yes.
Mr. Khalid, go right ahead.
First, let me say I'm 100% in support of this ordinance. We are amending our subdivision regulations. We were told when we were doing our zoning rewrite that many of us had concerns about many of the subdivision regulations, and that was going to be on the agenda at some point for us to amend all of these different things. Like, I love the conditions that I heard from Councilwoman Gums. I'm not sure why we don't require all of our subdivisions to be built that way. When is that coming, or should we just all start, if we have subdivision regulations that we'd like to see change, should we just start submitting them individually?
Well, this wouldn't be covered in the subdivision. I mean, this wouldn't be covered in those subdivision turnover regulations. But I think Councilwoman Willis indicated that she had been working on this and it would be before us next month.
Right. No, I'm sorry. I didn't mean the subdivision turnover. That's fine. I see that I thought we were going to tackle the entire subdivision regulations as one document, the way that we had done zoning. I see that people are submitting individual things, so I will do so as well. I got it. Thank you.
Let me make something clear. And I think Ms. Gomes did something that a lot of you don't do, and that is she laid out her zoning with conditions. And that is a tactic that's open to everybody, if that's what you want to do. But that's a tactic that's seldom used in our meetings. But you have the right to give conditions on any zoning that comes up. Okay, and I'll acknowledge Mrs. Mayor Pro Tem Willis.
That is accurate. We are allowed to put conditions based on, I do think that we need a comprehensive approach to certain things in our zoning ordinance. And we were told certain things that were not done in our zoning ordinance. However, every project is going to be different. And so to just say that everything has to be done the same is not going to be, it can't happen that way. So the projects that have come before this council, I have placed conditions on them as well based on the project and the area. And I do agree with you, Mayor, based on each project. Based on each project, everybody has a right to lay out their specific conditions for the area that the project is in. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Willis. Mr. Reeves, I'm acknowledging you now.
Okay, thank you. And yes, and I do agree with Councilman Khalid on Council Member Gum's recommendations on those conditions. And but some things in the process based on that zoning rewrite, based on what was zoning ordinance, there was some corrective action measures sent forth, but to address these issues on certain developments just didn't come. And so, but we're just going to clean up that little process and streamline it and just try to make everything according to the future use plan and the land use map.
Okay, Ms. Gilliard.
For the previous question.
No, Gilliard to be recognized, and we'll call for the question. Ms. Gilliard.
Hold on 1 minute. I just want to say that I think that Councilwoman Gums did an excellent job of first of all bringing the community into the situation and getting feedback from the community, discussing with the developer, and then trying her best to make sure that it's a win-win for everyone. And so I think that was an excellent job, Councilwoman Gums, to be able to get the developer to agree to those things that might be very not harmful, but concern of one community and another community that needs to have, some different kind of things. So I really, really think that that was really, really a good job. And I think it's a good model moving forward. And I can see that other council people are really doing the same thing, just like Councilman Baker, who is making sure that the people are at the table and that all the pieces are together before they move forward with the developer. And those are the kinds of actions that occur when you have quality development and you hold the developer accountable. And that makes the city, really turn out to be a good city. So
thank you.
Direction of that.
Mr. Clerk.
Yes, we have a motion on the floor by Councilman Burrell, seconded by Councilmember Gilliard to approve.
Let's vote.
Roll call vote. Councilmember Rao.
Yes.
Councilmember Gums.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Willis.
Yes.
Councilmember Gilliard.
Yes.
Councilmember Reeves.
Aye.
Councilmember Khalid.
Yes.
Councilmember Baker.
Aye.
That item was approved unanimously.
And next,
Thank you.
Next item is item 24. Request council approval authorizing the mayor to execute an acquisition of right-of-way agreement between the city of South Fulton and the Georgia Department of Transportation for federal aid project CR 1393. That's New Hope Road from east of Boat Rock Road to Danforth Road. The project has a total cost of $754,535 with 80%, which is $603,628 being reimbursed to the city by the Georgia Department of Transportation, and a required local match of 20%, which is $150,907. And this is Public Works staff.
I'll entertain a motion. Public Works, do you have anything you want to say?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. It is a typical right-of-way agreement for the New Hope Road sidewalks that has federal funds for this project. So it is the Public Works recommendation to present to you for approval and receiving the appropriate federal funds for the right-of-way acquisition for the project.
You did say sidewalks, didn't you?
Yes, Mr. Mayor.
Good. I want to make sure you said that.
I move that we approve the acquisition of rights-of-way agreement between the city of South Fulton and GDOT for federal aid project CR 1393, as well as the required match.
And second, Reeves. Any discussion? Hearing none, let's vote, Mr. Clerk.
Roll call vote. Councilmember Rao.
Yes.
Councilmember Gums.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Willis.
Yes.
Councilmember Gilliard.
Yes.
Councilmember Reeves.
Aye.
Councilmember Khalid.
Yes.
Councilmember Baker. Aye. That item was approved unanimously.
Okay, next item.
Next item is a first reading of an ordinance to amend Appendix C zoning, Article 3, restrictions on particular uses, Section 302, restrictions on principal uses, Section 302.12, daycare facility of the Code of Ordinances, City of South Fulton, Georgia, so as to remove certain restrictions on hours of operation for daycare facilities and for other lawful purposes. This is the first reading and is sponsored by Councilmember Khalid.
Councilmember Khalid.
I'll just say this creates a special use permit process. I think this is one of the times that a special use permit process is a good idea. It allows for us, currently our ordinances do not allow for any 24-hour daycares in the city of South Fulton. Here on Old National Highway, we have lots of people who are working in these warehouses and at the airport in 24-hour operations. And as they are being forced to return to work, they have no one to watch their children overnight. So this would allow council to allow certain daycares in certain places that have the need to operate 24 hours so that workers who work in the evenings can have their children looked after by professionals.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Khalid.
I have a question.
Go right ahead, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, go ahead.
So you said certain daycares in certain areas. What are the certain daycares are you referring to? And I have a question for Director Reed. Is this true that this was in our ordinance? It prohibited 24-hour daycares? Because I thought I recall one being next to, maybe it was when it was Fulton County. I thought it was one on National in that plaza where it was the sheriff office, the marshal office, and the former police department.
Mr. Khalid, you want to take the first part of that question?
Yes, it's a special use permit. So technically, anyone anywhere could apply for the license, and it would be up to the discretion of the council to decide if that place was an appropriate place. It has usually been our custom to yield to the experience of the council member in that district. In this particular instance, this person applied during the pandemic for a 24-hour daycare license, was granted the license by accident, and then the city withdrew the license when we realized our mistake. So she's lost a lot of her business. There were a lot of people who signed up specifically for this daycare. And it is on Old National across from Walmart. So it's on a commercial strip.
Thank you, Mr. Khalid. Ms. Reed, would you like to answer the second part of the Mayor Pro Tem's question?
Yes, ma'am. That information is exactly correct, that it is in the ordinance that prohibited a 24-hour operation. And it says in the code, it gives the hours of operations to I believe, to end by 7 p.m. So what we're looking to do is to remove the timing block for that use. That will then inadvertently allow for it to be a 24-hour operation.
Okay. Is there any particular reason this was done? Do you have any idea why? Because usually it's method behind the madness for why. And is it only going to be for daycares that for children? It's not going to be, because I know there are different types of daycares.
So I will say that I'll defer to Mr. Hyman because I believe the councilman worked directly with the attorney's office on this code. But to my knowledge, it is allowed for any identification of children's age as far as school age kids. It's not for adults, because that's how we spell it out in our code, by adults versus children for daycares.
I think that what Mr. Khalid has done also is that when you talk about a special use permit, it gives this council an opportunity to chime in as to whether we want to do it or not. So I think that's viable.
All right. Thank you.
Okay, Ms. Rao?
Yes. So would it still be required that they would have to come to get approval for this, or no, it would just go through, they could apply through the city hall and it wouldn't come before us? Because I would hate to take the special use provision away.
Right. No.
Yeah, I agree.
If you wanna comment on that, Ms. Reed, but as I understand it, is that if it's a special use, got to come before us. So you might want to make a statement to that.
Yes, sir. So I do understand what you're stating, but again, I've deferred to the attorney's office because I believe that is a little different. When speaking to the attorney's office about this matter, it is a different process that's being spelled out here. So I'll defer to either Vincent or Reginald on that.
Oh, wait a minute.
Yeah.
Wait a minute. If it's what Mr. Khalid is saying, all right, and it comes to you as a special use, then that special use has to be codified by this board. Am I correct? So
that would be correct if this was a special use. But what I'm saying is we need to speak to the attorney to spell out if in fact this is going to be a special use.
Oh, I understand all that. That's not what Dr. Rao was asking. I think she was asking.
Right. I'm saying I want it to remain, even if we do allow for a 24-hour daycare to operate, I still would like it to come before this body. Right. I do not want it to go through the process where they get this license, kind of like what we heard, and we find out about it after the fact. If a special use is required, it has to come before council.
And that was my legislative intent.
Right.
Okay.
I heard.
So long as it comes back in that form, I'm good. That's. I just want that clarified.
That's what I heard from him. That's what I heard him say, and I think it's fine that way.
And this is just a first read, so if we have time to clarify that with Mr. Hyman offline, if there's still.
Okay, correct. I think that's the best way to do it, Mr. Khalid. This is the first read. All right. Next item.
Next item is the item removed from the consent agenda, item 14, request council approval authorizing the city manager, city attorney, and city clerk to execute the intergovernmental agreement between the city of South Fulton and the city of South Fulton Development Authority for a period of 1 year and shall automatically renew for 5 additional 1-year terms unless terminated. City manager.
The manager, go right ahead.
Yes, good evening, Mayor and Council. I just wanted to make you aware that 2 weeks ago, I sent you all the draft. It was requested that I add the financial reporting based upon a quarterly basis. That was included. And also I did include, with the assistance of our city attorney, and also in working collaboratively with the Dr. Baker, the chair of the Development Authority, and their attorney, we put together the draft. And that's why you also see the 1 year automatic renewal. But of course, it can be terminated with 60 days notice. But that would be at the discretion of the council if you want to continue to have that portion in there. And I'll take any questions.
Okay, Mayor Pro Tem.
So, Ms. Sally Jones, the only thing I'm concerned about is that we have two development authorities. I know you're going to be bringing back the other development authority, IGA, and we
Yes.
have employees. I mean, and I've done research on this too. And so a lot of development authorities, they hire their own employees. And so I understand that these are relatively new development authorities, and we're trying to support them as a city because we do want them to be successful. But my only concern is that I don't want our employees burnt out because our clerk in the IGA is asking to use our finance resources, our clerk resources. What was the other one? I don't have it in front of me. The clerk, the finance, and it was somebody else.
Well, it was, mainly clerk and finance, but other staff designations as needed.
So that's going to be a lot to put on staff to keep up with not only the day-to-day operations of our normal business, but now they are having to take on the onus of the development authorities as well. So are the development authorities willing to give them some type of stipend? And then I would like to ask for mayor feedback, because you've been around longer than all of us. And I'm not saying it to be disrespectful. I'm just saying you've been dealing with development authorities for longer than all of us. And what has been your experience with staff relative to development authority?
Well, to just answer that just plainly for you, Mayor Pro Tem, coming from Fulton County, there was no responsibility. The development authority was autonomous, and that they handled their staff and everything. We did, however, appoint a representative to the development authority, and that was our only obligation as a Fulton County Commission.
So, Ms. Sally Jones, you being the city manager responsible for the day-to-day operations, do you think this is a fair agreement for staff? I mean, because we have Mr. Adams, and he's great. I mean, I give him his kudos, but now he's in a position he's going to get the same salary, and he is really taking on more responsibility.
Well, the current draft that you have before you provides for staff to receive a monthly stipend for their services on the development authority.
Okay, I didn't see that. Okay, I just want to make sure he's compensated. So, the other question is, the 5-year renewal, that's a very long time. Is there any way that we could just, for both development authorities, I'm not singling out Mr. Baker, I'm not singling out the South Fulton Development Authority. Can we bring the IGA back before council on an annual basis like we do other contracts and make a decision on, how we want to allocate our resources to help both development authorities?
Yes, I have no problem with that. So we can make it for a period of 1 year, and then we will renew it at the appropriate time each year.
Okay.
Are you finished, Mayor?
Yes, I'm finished.
Okay, Dr. Baker, go right ahead.
First of all, I believe that if that is going to be the case, the recommendation there should be a consensus as opposed to one individual, all due respect to Councilwoman Willis, one individual making that recommendation, and then
I plan to bring it up for a vote.
I have the floor, I think.
She has the floor, Miss Willis. She has the floor. Go ahead, Dr. Baker.
Thank you. Again, I believe that anything that we add or take away from any agreement as a body, a collective body, we should all agree on it or disagree to do it. And I do agree with Councilwoman Willis when it comes to the DA being an autonomous body, just as the DDA, and we should have equity in those boards as a collective. While we go back and review the DA and the DDA annually, if that's what we choose to do, I think that it should be considered that the DDA is in the budget annually, just as the DDA is. The DDA is appointed $150,000 annually, and over the past 3 years, that's through the legislation. And over the past 3 budget cycles, the DA hasn't received a dime. Of course, we had that seed money, but we haven't been able to be proactive with that money without us knowing where our next dime is going to come from. Not to mention that we just passed another budget and we're not in it again. So if you want us, to work for the city and actually be effective, I do believe that the DA would be able to pay independent hires if we had a budget. If we were given the same budget that the DDA, and not to mention we cover the entire city and not just certain areas of the city. So I think that that's something that should be considered as well. $150,000 again goes to our downtown development authority every year for the next couple of years in our city's budget. So that's what you call support. And if you really want us to work and be effective, and it's not Dr. Baker's DA, it's the city of South Fulton's development authority. And if we really want to see it thrive and do well, we're going to have to support it. So I yield.
Thank you, Dr. Baker. Ms. Gilliard, Mr. Reeves, I do see you. Ms. Gilliard is next.
Mayor, I'm back in the queue.
I just wanted to, I just want to say that the two are not synonymous, because the Downtown Development Authority covers a substantial amount of territory in the city. And the fact that the town center is going to be a part of it, it's going to eventually jump off, and there's going to be a lot of development as the downtown is being created. The Development Authority, even though it is citywide as well, is going to probably take maybe a little bit more time. And that authority might even decide, and I don't know whether they're doing it or not, to focus on specific areas and specific types of development or whatever. But it is not easy to get anything off the ground and grow it. And we're like 4 years down the road, and the Development Authority is not that old. So both of the development authorities need assistance, and we should be able to provide assistance for both of them. They are different, and they should not be competing with each other, and we should help both. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Reeves, go right ahead.
Mr. Clerk, question is, what are the terms for our committees as far as appointments?
Well, each committee has different terms. It just depends on what's in the enabling legislation. But in general, most of the committees have appointees for the term of the life of the council member. But if you're talking specifically about Development Authority, that's a little different. Can you be more specific? Are you talking in general or a particular committee?
That was in general, but now it's specific as to relate to development authorities. What are the typical term limits?
Yes, well, they're staggered and they're mandated by state law, the Development Authorities law. Some terms are 2 years, some are 4, and I believe some are 6.
Does this fit into the criteria of that recommendation?
Do you understand it, Mr. Adams?
Does this, I don't know if
Does this current item as it stands with the 1 year 5 renewable automatic returns, does that fit into this criteria? Because you said it was 2, 4, or 6 years.
Right, and that's in reference to appointees to the authority. So this is an agreement between the city and the authority. So I'm trying to see the correlation between the two.
Yeah.
The criteria of the standard that is set for the 2, 4, or 6 year appointments.
Yes, that's by state law and
Well, everybody,
Okay, bottom line is, I think that we should go further in discussion, but we should follow state law as it relates to the appointees of the development authority, just period. Because 1 year with 5 year optional automatic, it's still saying it's 6 years, but it's adding up to 6 years, but it's not spelled out clearly in the language.
okay.
And it's usually staggered so that not all of them are same on that same term. And I think that should be visited according to state law.
Okay. All right, Mr. Khalid, you have not spoken on this issue yet. Go ahead.
Well, first I want to go to the first concern about overburdening our staff because we as council have put forth resolutions that have required staff to show up at all of our events and do all of these things. So I think it's important that if we're thinking about overburdening our staff, that we do put ourselves in that, and that we just think holistically about how we are tracking the amount of time that staff are having to show up. I did talk about a sort of inter-office billing as a time tracking device. If the concern though is that we are asking our staff to do all of this extra work, then perhaps in many other cities, development authorities are funded based on the deals that they do. But up until that time that a development authority has their deal, usually between 5 years and 10 years, they receive seed money from the city. I thought that this was a pretty clever way from our city manager to be flexible in how we allocate resources, but it is also just possible that these development authorities present a budget for the amount of staff and people that we need, and we just actually fund them according to the budget. I'm assuming that's where the $150,000 a year came from for the DDA, that someone just didn't just come up with that number because it sounded good. So if we need to have the development authority come back with a budget and then we approve that budget and fund that budget that way, we could do that. We would, if we're going to have a balanced budget, we're going to have to end up cutting money from somewhere else. So I actually, I want to applaud whomever came up with this idea of allowing the city manager to be smart with our funds. I do think that we've got to be, a lot of the things that we are talking about building and doing in the city don't make the city any money. And our development authorities are really, they have the possibility of being the biggest revenue generators in our city, specifically for the building of commercial properties, which would lessen the tax burden. Everybody's getting their tax bills now on our residents. So I think we should not just look at this as a budgeting, as a funding problem, but as an actual investment. And we know that the return on investment from development authorities is huge, and we should be spending money that makes money. I also do think that a one year contract that automatically renews has been the standard for a variety of contracts, from employees to buildings that we were going to purchase or are going to purchase. A one year contract with automatic renewal is actually pretty standard across government contracting. So it is a little curious that we would not continue that practice for this one authority. But my overall comment is that that these are investments that we expect to yield a return on the money that we are spending, unlike many of the other things that we spend money on as a city. So I hope that we would just consider that as we deliberate. Thank you.
Okay, I think I see hands raised. I think that Mayor Pro Tem was next, and then Dr. Baker, and then Mr. Reeves, and then I have a comment and we'll conclude.
So first of all, let me address Councilmember Baker. I called your name because you're the chair of the Development Authority. It wasn't because you're the owner of the Development Authority. I'm clear on that. We all are clear on that. Second of all, when I say staff, both for the development authorities are autonomous, meaning that they are separate entities. And so to compare what we ask staff to support operation-wise has nothing to do with what I am saying. What I am saying is that if you are a separate entity and you're supposed to have your own autonomy, you're supposed to be operating as your own. And so it is not true that most cities give money to the development authorities for 5 years. Every city is different. What I would advise a lot of my colleagues to do is take the class, the economic development class that DCA offers, because you'll find out a lot about economic development and how development authorities work throughout the state of Georgia. I think that it is important that we support both of our development authorities because they're working for the good of the people. But it is not this city's job to operate as an enterprise. It is our job to budget money to provide a service. We're not in the business to make money. We're in business. We're here to govern and make sure that we provide a service. I do agree. We do need to look at the redoing both development authorities, because what it is odd, and I think we need to bring both of them in alignment. Everybody on this council, to include the mayor, needs to have an appointment on both development authorities. If you do the research, most development authorities, and we can't compare ourselves to Atlanta because they're a totally different structure from ours. They don't have elected officials sitting in the capacity that we have on our development authority. So yes, we do need to revisit. Not only do we need to revisit the annual allocations, we need to revisit how our development authorities are set up. Most municipalities don't have them acting in the capacity as ours. Again, this is no slight to any to the South Fulton Development Authority. I think they both should be closely aligned. I think that we need to set them up the same. I think everybody should have an appointment. And to say that the Downtown Development Authority is not citywide is not true. If you look at the map that was drawn, that Downtown Development Authority, it goes throughout this entire city. And it has professionals. And I'm not saying the South Fulton Development Authority don't have professionals, because they do have professionals on there. They have great people on there. But the difference is this Downtown Development Authority do not have elected officials acting in the capacity that we do have them in the South Fulton Development Authority, where sometimes it may cause a conflict when making decisions. And I still ask, when it comes to voting, should the chair be voting on the council, because it's supposed to be separate entities? Should the chair be voting on the council for any action for the South Fulton Development Authority where they're serving as a chair? I still ask that question. And I would like for Mr. Hyman to send that in writing to this entire council and make an opinion on that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Excuse me. We'll have Mr. Baker, Mr. Rourke, Mr. Reed, and then I'll conclude this conversation. Dr. Baker?
Yes, sir. Thank you for acknowledging me. First of all, it's important before we move forward to clear up a few things. We know how contentious the Development Authority was. Whether we rehash it or not, we don't have to. But the reality of it is, when statements are made as if I am the chairman of the development authority and it's contentious because I hold that position, and then people say Dr. Baker's development authority, we all know what we mean, whether we walk it back or not. Nonetheless, Mr. Mayor has an appointment on the development authority.
Yes,
Everyone has an appointment on the development authority because we went back over a year ago and we have two brilliant people who sat, and we even gave, I think Mr. Reeves came back and he even appointed someone. Even new members have people on the development authority. They appointed directly and they're brilliantly serving currently. The other thing is, when we talk about making sure we're doing the same things, I know I'm not alone when I say that I had no appointment to the Downtown Development Authority. I know I'm not alone when I say that. But that's not the point. The point of it is making is that we ensure that these two entities thrive. You can't hurt Dr. Baker when it comes to hurting the development authority. It's vital that petty differences are put aside and we just do what's right for the community. We have our very first building. Last week, we just signed a bond for the medical facility, a beautiful building that is a forerunner on the change of the trajectory of Old National Highway. And we have that building, and it's a grand opening next week. And I believe everybody has an invite to see what this building has to offer, what Dr. McCoy has planned to do with the building, as well as how many jobs that he plans to see out of that development. These are the things that we can do, but we cannot be assertive unless we're funded. So we reached out prior to approving the budget to be included in this budget. I believe the reason that we were not included was because the city manager had already balanced the budget. And while I was thinking I was vying in an open form of communication for both development authorities, I had no idea that the Downtown Development Authority was funded $150,000 for the next couple of years. And so with funding like that, we wouldn't need to pay staff. We would be running autonomously. And I think that we keep getting away from that. We have land and we appreciate the land. We're trying to improve that land. It was even brought that, hey, what's the possibility of us eating whatever we make off the land? We were just desperate at that time to try to see if we could even create a budget through whatever we decide to move forward with the land. And that wasn't how we move forward. So this unique way, as Councilman Khalid put it, was what the attorneys came up with, and we're here and we're okay with it. Of course, the Development Authority as an autonomous body has to be okay with it and accept it. But the bottom line is, put us in the budget annually like the Downtown Development Authority and we won't have this problem. We can renew it next year and then or exclude it and just give us a budget next year. I yield.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Baker. Mr. Reeves, and I will close it out.
I'm going to save my comments for a later time, but I do want to charge Madam Jones to get with Attorney Hyman and just come up with a standard for how this whole process can go about and be fair and equitable to both, and bring back some recommendations. So that's all I have to say right now.
Good. Thank you, Mr. Reeves. I'd like to piggyback on what you're saying, just a few. You know, you guys are phenomenal. You know, the way you start is the way you finish.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to say it again, the way you start is the way you finish. Ever since this has been going on, it's been punch and counterpunch, leaving us nowhere but a bloody nose and being in a battle. We have not resolved anything. I don't know if we're going to resolve anything today. But I do know this, that when you give money to any organization money that has been paid for by the citizens, then you must have an accounting, Ms. Jones, of that money. Do you have a budget, Ms. Jones?
Do I have a budget for the stipend?
Well, for public money that's given to anybody, especially development authority, do you have a budget?
Well, the only money that I propose that be given to them is the American Rescue Plan money, which I presented on to.
I'm not talking about what you're proposing. I'm saying, do you have a budget from the development authority to show how public money was spent?
Yes.
When did you get that budget?
Yes, the finance department put that together and that was sent out prior to the beginning of this meeting.
I don't think you really understand me. What I'm trying to get to is that whenever we put public money before somebody, that person, that a group or that entity is required in some way to show us the accountability for that money. All right.
Yes.
Now let me just say this to you. Public personnel, like a Corey Reed, that is the same as public dollars. You follow what I'm saying?
Yes.
Whatever his salary is, and you put him somewhere, the net gain of what he makes goes to where you put him. So that is income. And anytime we use any of this, that is income for the development authority, okay?
Mm-hmm.
This does not sound much today, but I'm gonna tell you this. I know that from talking to you and others, as we have been trying to construct this development authority and DDA, I have seen the disgust and trying to get things done, and I'm not in the picture, but just trying to get things done where information does not come back timely. And you got to have, we're stewards of public funds. We got to have this information because me as mayor, I don't want nobody to come and asking me that you gave X amount of dollars to somebody and you have no record of how it was spent. Don't want to do that. So I don't know what's going to happen today, but until we stop this counterpunch, until we begin to start this in the right direction, it's going to be virtually impossible because the way you start, the way you end. Thank you, Mr. Clerk.
Mayor, I move that we hold this and bring this back to the next council meeting. And with the request that Councilmember Reeves made, with the request that you made regarding the budget. And also, Ms. Sadler Jones, can you bring both the IGA for the DDA and the Downtown Development Authority? And I will get with Attorney Hyman. I don't know, and some of my colleagues, because some people are being quiet, but we do have, there's some room for improvement. And so if we need to look at both resolutions, the way both of them were set up, we need to bring both of them back at the next council meeting. I am even willing to, I've already expressed to Councilmember Baker some of my concerns, but I'm willing to bring both back so that we can revisit. And you're correct, so that we can get on an even playing field with both and make sure that everybody is good with both.
I think all you started with your motion.
Second.
It's been properly second. You understood the motion? To bring
yes,
it
to hold it right.
Okay, it's been properly moved to second to hold any further discussion. I don't think we should have any, but let's vote.
Well,
Yes.
Mr. Mayor, I have discussion. I'm sorry. Like, we can't move that without an option for discussion.
I understand that, Mr. Vicker. That's why I have this gavel and you can go forward.
and I appreciate it. I just want to be clear, because we were talking about a fiduciary responsibility, that the development authority's funds have always been with the city. The accounting of the development authority's funds have always been with the city. Whether we put it together so we can have it to present to mayor and council today or not, it doesn't exclude that they've always been with the city. And over the past 3 years, the development authority has spent approximately close to less than $30,000 out of our seed money. So we have been really, really conservative again, and keeping with that fiduciary responsibility, only because we haven't known where our next penny was going to come from. So I appreciate the idea that we can bring these two documents back and see how we can actually move forward with some type of equity and inclusion, just to go and do what's best for the city. Councilman Baker has a term that will be limited on the development authority. This is an authority that will go way beyond myself. So the things that we put in place won't just be for me, it will continue on. So we have to think way beyond any issues that we may have in order to move forward. Thank you so much for the recommendation.
With you, Dr. Baker. Let's vote, please.
It's a motion to hold.
Yes.
Councilmember Rao.
Yes.
Councilmember Gums.
Yeah.
Mayor Pro Tem Willis.
Yes.
Councilmember Gilliard.
Abstain,
Why?
because I just think it's ridiculous.
Do you have a conflict of interest in what?
Yes, I really have a conflict of interest.
And you own anything in it? Let's move on. Go ahead, Mr. Clerk.
Councilmember Reeves.
Aye.
Councilmember Khalid.
No.
Councilmember Baker.
Dr. Baker.
Aye.
Okay.
That item was held. It was approved.
All right. Next item, please.
Next is item 16, request council approval to authorize the city manager to execute a contract with Central Square to purchase and implement a new records management solution for the South Fulton Police Department in an amount not to exceed $685,000 from the FY22 budget.
Police and IT.
Yes, good afternoon. So currently we're on Central One Solution, which is a legacy product for Central Square. They no longer will support that particular product, and the build out for the new upgraded system is approximately 18 months. And so we're seeking permission to get started with the development of that new product.
Okay. Anything from IT?
No, part of what the chief said, this is Namor Strickland, IT director. That is about the right time frame. It could go a little bit faster. We just don't know until we get there. A lot of the challenge is going to be converting the data from the county, and that situation that we have there. We're moving from the legacy platform that no longer supporting to the newer platform.
Okay. To make this move a little swifter, can I entertain a motion from someone?
I so move, Mayor.
There a second?
Second.
Properly moved and second. It's discussion, Mr. Khalid.
Yes. I know that we're also looking at CRMs citywide, PeopleSoft, SAP, whatever. How will this system interface with those systems? Does it need to interface? Just, I know that we have some other purchases that we're making.
Go ahead, Chief.
No, you can go ahead.
So this system here is kind of independent of those. The way it would integrate with the ERP systems for finance and purchasing is like from when they take tickets and things like that, the ability to be able to pay directly into the financial system is the primary connection that we would have there.
All right. And then the second question is, we have an item coming up on the agenda with a CPE that is going to be doing a study of our data. So will they have access to both our legacy system and this new system? How long will the legacy system and its data still be accessible? And will CPE be able to access both of those sets of data?
But we'll be converting the legacy data that we have into the new system because it's technically coming from the same company. It's just going from one of their older platforms to a newer platform. There will be possibly some level of restriction on the old platform if they review before we get converted, because some of the data is shared with the other entities of the county.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Khalid. Any other discussion? Hearing none. Mr. Clerk?
Hey, Mayor Edwards.
Yes.
Pardon me. I just want to make sure that the council is aware that this was not procured because this is the sole source, single source through Central Square, and our purchasing department was involved as well.
Okay, that's an ugly word.
Does that amount exceed the limit?
I'll allow that question. Go ahead and ask it, Mr. Reed.
Yes. No, I'm just asking what is the amount of the sole source, the limit on the sole source award?
Ms. Jones?
Mr. Kerr, is he on the line?
Yes, good afternoon, Mayor and Council. Good afternoon, City Manager. There's technically no limit on a sole source. There is a limit on what the city can spend without council approval, and that amount is the $25,000. So if council approves the spend in excess of $25,000, then there is no limit on the range that a sole source can cover.
Okay, Mr. Reed, I thought that was the answer.
Okay. Yeah, could you send that to me in email format? I appreciate it.
Yes, sir, will do.
Okay. All right, Mr. Clerk, let's go.
It's roll call vote to approve. Councilmember Rao.
Yes.
Councilmember Gums.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Willis.
Yes.
Councilmember Gilliard.
Yes.
Councilmember Reeves.
Aye.
Councilmember Khalid.
Mr. Khalid.
I'm sorry, yes.
Councilmember Baker.
Aye.
That item is approved unanimously.
Next item, please.
Next item is item 26. This is a public hearing. This is a request council approval of alcohol license for Stanley's of Georgia LLC, doing business at Stanley's Cigar Lounge, located at 3220 Butner Road, Suite 210, Atlanta, Georgia 30331. It's a public hearing.
Chief?
Yes, Stanley's at 3220 they've met all of the legal requirements to receive a permanent liquor license, and we present their application before the body for your consideration.
Okay, now let me open the public hearing, Mr. Clerk.
Yes, Mayor, we have the applicant, Ms. Monica Coleman, on the line, and we did receive some comments in opposition.
Okay, let me hear from the pro first.
Good evening. This is Terry Bailey, attorney for the applicant, and I'm here with Monica Coleman. She is right next to me. Once again, my name is Terry Bailey. My office address is 3400 Peachtree Road Northeast, Suite 1515, Atlanta, Georgia, 30324. And I'm with a law firm of Taylor, File, Harper, and Lumsden. And as mentioned, Ms. Coleman has applied for an on-premise consumption license. As you will see in your packet, we submit the application. We currently have a temporary license, and we have a temporary license from the state as well. We meet all the legal requirements. For those who I know a lot of you guys are probably familiar with this location. It's in the plaza on Butner Road. There was previously a cigar lounge at this location, so she's taken over. It's a change of ownership. We do know that there may be some comments about the parking situation here, and we're willing to address those. But I just want to remind everybody that this application has been vetted not just by the police department, but by all the other appropriate departments, including the Department of Planning. And without further ado, I'm going to introduce Ms. Coleman so she can introduce herself to council, and then we'll reserve the rest of our time for rebuttal. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon. Again, thank you. My name is Monica Coleman.
One moment. Mr. Mayor, I have a point of order.
Go ahead.
Is it possible, could we have the applicants turn their cameras on? I just want to see who is granting these liquor.
we can.
I have to agree.
I don't know if the parents gonna make you change your mind or not, but
I mean, I just, you know,
they're on now.
we're going to continue meeting online. I just,
Yeah.
I like to see the.
I got you, Mr. Khalid. They're on. You see them? Okay.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Monica Coleman. As my attorney stated, I'm the owner of Stanley's Cigar Lounge. We've been open for about 16 days now and have been grateful for the support that we've received from people in the South Fulton community and being able to welcome members of the community back to an area and an establishment that has been an integral part of District 2. And also being able to employ people who once worked at this facility prior to it closing, unfortunately. I know that there have been some discussions about challenges with parking since we opened our doors less than 3 weeks ago. I sent information to the council member, Councilwoman Gums from this district that I know was presented to several of you on this call about what we've done previously to mitigate the challenges that have resulted since we've opened and what we're committed to doing on an ongoing basis as it relates to what I am capable of as one business that is part of a larger plaza where there are other businesses that also have entertainment options for the community. So we met with the local HOA about this yesterday. We provided our commitment to what we're able to do. We've been in communication with other city departments about what some upcoming things are and plans to work collaboratively with city departments as well as the management company who actually owns this property and the HOA to be able to mitigate that as well.
Okay. Mr. Clerk, reserve their time for rebuttal, please.
Okay.
Okay, now let me hear from the other
Yes,
side.
Mr. Mayor and Council, we do have 3 comments. We have actually one person who is on the call, and Mrs. Hall, would you please unmute yourself, state your name, address, and you have give you 2 minutes to make your comment, please.
Good afternoon, Nicole Hall, 214 Ismail Drive. The Homeowner Association Board of Directors for the Camp Creek Village Townhomes, we are requesting that this item be held or deferred so that we can work with the city departments, the owner of the shops at Camp Creek Village Plaza, as well as the tenants, specifically the applicant, to come up with a solution to address public safety, traffic, and illegal parking issues. We're eager to work with all the pertinent parties to get to an amenable resolution. Since the time that this newest establishment has been open, which is almost 3 weeks, the issues have been exacerbated and the residents of the community have been negatively impacted. I'd like to refer you to an email that we sent earlier from our secretary. It has pictures that was sent to the police department and the fire department. We also sent the same message today to the mayor and the city council members. I'm not sure if you got it, but hopefully someone is forwarding it to you. Over the last few months, we've communicated with the police chief, the Butner Road precinct captain, fire marshal, the councilwoman, the mayor, and others. Everyone has been great in listening to our needs, but addressing blocking of garages, car break-ins, rude and derogatory harassment of residents, in addition to some of the other items that I mentioned, have not been addressed. Our HOA has recently funded off-duty police officers, traffic cones, and we're planning for other public safety measures that will provide security and safety for our residents, as well as mitigating the traffic and parking issues. Up to this point, the business owner applicant has not done anything to help our community with the issues that we are facing as a direct impact of the cigar lounge patrons. Although this was stated to be done in the city application for the alcohol license. Frankly, I'm surprised the application was approved, as it was not filled out completely and they have not complied with items on pages 10, 14, and 15. It is not our intent to bring harm or hardship to a small woman-owned Black business, as I am one too. But everyone must comply with the rules and regulations that have been previously set forth that all the establishments have to abide by. Thank you for your time and attention. We appreciate your consideration to hold this item.
Good seeing you, Nicole. Long time.
You too.
All right. Next person. Mr. Clerk.
Oh, I was on mute. I'm sorry. There was a comment submitted by Tracy Bonner. I can read it's quite lengthy, but it reiterates what Ms. Hall just stated. Would you like me to read it in its entirety?
That's what he'd sent.
Okay. Tracy Bonner, who lives on Ismail Drive, District 2. I would like to address the fire hazard and safety issues. The Camp Creek Village Shops Plaza located at 3220 Butner Road, Atlanta, Georgia. The Camp Creek Village Townhomes residents are being inconvenienced by 3 locations that operate as clubs, lounges, concert venues. The insufficient parking is causing hazards and car break-ins in our community. More specifically, since the opening of Stanley's Cigar Lounge, the hazard has increasingly got worse. Their patrons are parking in our guest parking spaces, on our streets, and blocking our garages, impeding our homeowners from entering and exiting their homes. It is our fear that in case of an emergency, first responders will be impeded from entering our neighborhood. This is not safe, is not considerate of the taxpayers, registered voters, and law-abiding citizens of our community. I am in opposition of Stanley Cigar Lounge receiving their liquor license because as it stands, they are already serving their patrons liquor without a proper license, which is not in compliance with the law. In addition, they have yet to establish a protocol for parking, so I don't trust their ability to keep their patrons from excessively drinking, causing more chaos in our community and on the streets of the city of South Fulton. Our HOA board of directors has informed the fire chief, Chief Chad Jones, and the police chief, Chief Keith Meadows, of these safety concerns and have provided them with pictures as visual evidence of the problems facing our community. We support small businesses, but not at the expense of our investment, well-being, and quality of life. And that completes the comment.
Okay, you have a rebuttal, Ms. Coleman and your attorney? How many minutes?
I
do you have
do-
for rebuttal?
7 minutes.
You have a 7
So
minutes.
I'll briefly address some of those comments, and I'll let Ms. Coleman talk a little bit about what she's done as well. You heard the well, first of all, we do have a proper license. We obtained a temporary license from the city of South Fulton as well as from the state. Also, in regards to the incomplete application, that's not correct. Although we put NA on certain pages of the application, NA means not applicable. For instance, when you look at the distance requirements, it's not applicable since this location is grandfathered in. I believe another page is not applicable as well. And then when we deal with the parking situation, as mentioned, we're grandfathered in, but at the same time, Ms. Coleman is very cognizant to the concerns of the neighborhood. That's why she met with the HOA yesterday, and we are not, I'm sure that's not the last meeting that she intends to have. As you heard, there are a couple other locations. So I think it's a little unfair to attribute the actions of individuals to her establishment. At the same time, she has taken some measures, and one thing that she has already done is they inform patrons when they come in here that they cannot park in the neighborhood behind. They also have the DJ, when there is a DJ here, to repeatedly say that as well. And I've discussed with Ms. Coleman. It was her idea. Actually, she's gotten the rates from the city of South Fulton, and she plans to employ officers to monitor to monitor behind the building to make sure there's no illegal parking on certain days where she has promotions for where she anticipates a larger event. As mentioned, we do meet the letter of the law. We comply with the regulations, been vetted by the police department. But at the same time, it doesn't mean that she's not going to work with the community. As mentioned, she met with the community yesterday. She wrote a lengthy email to the councilwoman to describe some of the actions that she's taking, and she was willing to do that going forward as well. In the past, I've actually represented another business which is in the same plaza. And I can reach out to the owner of that business as well to bring more than just Ms. Coleman to the table. She's already spoken with her landlord, and her landlord has reached out, and we're actually looking at the plausibility of potentially having valet here. So we are actively working to resolve this issue. However, the temporary license does expire at the end of this month. And we do want to move forward. Those are not legal basis to deny the application in that regard. You just want to put on the record, to deny the application for those reasons would be violation of equal protection due process. But at the same time, this is an applicant that is willing to meet with the neighborhood, willing to address these concerns. She's only been open for 2 weeks, but mind you, there's been a business here before. And I think it's a good thing that we're going to have these discussions going forward to try to address these parking issues. But you know, the parking situation, there are no dedicated spots to Ms. Coleman's establishment. It's the parking count was derived when they rezoned this development many years back. However, we're going to do what we can to work with the community and to work with the police department and other departments to address that. But I just want to remind you guys, honorable mayor and council, that those aren't legal reasons to deny the application. With that being said, I'll let Ms. Coleman just wrap up our rebuttal.
I don't have anything on top of additional to comment.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Coleman. Anything from the other side? They have any time left? Mr. Adams?
I don't know if Ms. Hall.
Some time left if you want to.
I'd just like to make
I had 3 minutes.
one comment. Yes, I'd just like to make one comment that we did meet with Ms. Coleman and we appreciated the fact that she met with us, although we did try to do it before she opened so that we could talk through this before we had the issues. So now that the issues are here, we are not asking that we deny her a liquor license. We would like to have the City of South Fulton officials to work with us and with the plaza and the tenants to come up with some solutions, and she can implement the things that she stated. We have put money out on the table to try to do this. We hired the off-duty police officers. She stated she would now, but it hasn't happened. So we want to see that she puts her good faith effort forward. And I understand that NA means not applicable. And I know that that's not what I'm referring to. There are some other issues that were listed that she said she would do things that weren't done. So you can refer to number 34, number 35, number 36. I can just go down the list. So if the application was not completed, it says something about a restaurant. She's not a restaurant, or the business is not a restaurant. I think we need to address what's on paper. I know multiple people looked at it, but it needs to be revisited. And I'll leave it at that. We would like to have this item deferred until another time.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Nicole. At this time, I'm going to acknowledge Mr. Khalid, followed by Mayor Pro Tem Willis.
Okay, I have so many thoughts and questions. First, I just want to ask a question of our city attorney. Or whomever can answer, when did Cigarros close and when did this new restaurant or lounge open?
Khalid, I would defer to police on the actual closing of Cigarros.
Okay, Chief Miller, can you
So
answer?
Cigarros closed up, or I believe it was closer on the beginning of this year or sometime in spring, I believe it was. And the revocation of their liquor license actually came before the body. We brought it back as a formality as the owner of Cigarros agreed to give up his liquor license, but we still wanted to bring it before the body to vote on it. And I believe that happened within the last 3 months or so. The new Stanley's Stanley's has been open for about 3 weeks now.
Okay. And the reason I ask, I'm just fact gathering at this point. I think it's important that we have all the facts. Mr. Hyman, it's my understanding, please correct me if I'm wrong, but a new business opening in an old business after 60 days of a business being closed is considered an abandoned use. Is that correct? And they're not necessarily entitled after 60 days to come in and use a building for the same. I just want to understand what the law says about that.
Councilor Khalid, we have an ordinance on residential that's been vacant for 60 days being put on the list, but I don't know if this would be applicable as it relates to them pursuing a liquor license at this establishment.
Oh, and I was just asking about state real estate law regarding abandoned uses and what the time period was for that. I do want to ask Ms. Coleman if it's possible. Thank you so much for appearing here today, would a deferral be a, I know that it would be a financial burden, but would it be a financial burden that you could not bear if we did defer this for 30 days?
It's absolutely a financial burden that I cannot bear as a new business and someone who's invested a considerable amount of capital into getting the business open and still attempting to operate in the black. And so to be in a position to have my license, my temporary license have to lapse, especially when, as I discussed with the homeowners, and I think as anyone who's familiar with the situation understands, the solving of the parking problem is much bigger than something that my particular establishment is responsible for, especially because I'm not the owner of this property. I'm one of several businesses. And so it definitely would be a considerable hardship for me and for my business as someone who has invested a considerable amount of money to be part of the city of South Fulton's business community.
All right, thank you. And so now I just have a couple of comments. I think that it's interesting that or maybe serendipitous that this would appear on our agenda after a discussion about our development authorities and before a discussion of our comprehensive plan. I think that this is a perfect example of how things that seem like they are not related are actually all interrelated. Everyone knows that I'm a big supporter of South Fulton nightlife. And one of the things that I had hoped to do in the original planning of the DDA for Old National was to identify an entertainment district. We have a comprehensive plan discussion coming up. And I think that when we clearly identify where our entertainment districts are, then that also puts potential home buyers on notice that you're moving into a district that may have these particular issues. So I just hope that's something that we're thinking about in our comprehensive plan, identifying where our entertainment districts are. And then we spend a lot of time fighting about like who runs our development authorities, but this is a perfect example of how development authorities in other cities from Sandy Springs to Duluth have built municipal parking to help facilitate areas precisely like this, where you have parking problems. We had this same problem in District 5, where we had 5 clubs in the grown folks plaza, and there was really a parking issue. So I think that this is really an opportunity, and I hope that our development authorities are watching and listening to see how can we facilitate nightlife nodes and help with these sort of parking and security issues. I just think there's a great opportunity for that. So thank you all for participating, and thank you everyone for listening.
Thank you, Mr. Khalid. We'll have Ms. Willis, and I will close it out after Ms. Willis.
So thank you for Ms. Coleman for wanting to bring a business to the city of South Fulton. First of all, in this plaza, there is 3 clubs. And this is not even a club. This is just a lounge for people to come and have drinks and partake in cigars. But there are 2 other entertainment businesses in this plaza, along with the restaurant. And so, to single Ms. Coleman out and hold her totally responsible for the parking issues and the other issues in this parking lot is not fair, in my opinion. I think that, we have to hold her to the same standard and give her the same opportunity that we gave all the other businesses. I didn't see anybody bring the Infinity Lounge owner in here and do this to them. And I didn't see anybody bring St. James Live in here and do this to them. And so I don't think that we should, I sympathize with the homeowners, but the homeowners need to hold the person responsible that should be held responsible, and that's the property manager of that plaza. Mrs. Coleman is just one of many business owners in that plaza, and she is not the sole reason why there is the issues that are brought up. she's not that her business is not the sole issue of those matters that are being brought up today. And then I also want to clarify one other thing. There was a comment made that, you know, she was serving liquor before she was approved to. I want to make that clear that that did not happen. If it's one thing our police chief don't play about, is liquor licenses. He holds that to his vest very tightly, and he does not play about people's violating that policy. So she did have a temporary license, and she was operating in all her legal confines. So with all of that being said, I would like to make a motion that we go ahead based on the police chief recommendation, who I have total trust in, because at the end of the day, he is responsible for our safety in the city. If he says that there's no legal reason to deny this, then I think that we need to move forward and approve it. So I move that we approve this liquor license.
Is there a second?
There'll be a second. Second.
All right.
But we have discussion.
Hold up. Somebody's trying to get in here. I don't know who it is. But let me just say this to you, and now that we're in discussion, let me just say what I have to say. You know, we can always sit here and try to rationalize what we don't have in terms of legislation to make something happen. But I think that both parties, I think Nicole and Monica both, are coming here to look for solutions. Let me tell you where the problem started. And Ms. Reed, you need to hear this. The problem started when we first opened and zoned that place over there.
Sure.
Now, it was zoned as retail establishments. The parking for retail and the parking for other things like restaurants and stuff, the parking is totally different, because in a retail establishment, you go in, get what you want, you come back out and get your car, and you leave. Hence comes the problem. And it's not their problem. And Nicole, I want to get with you because I think we need to take the problem to where it needs to go. The problem needs to go to Shiv Agarwal, who is the owner of that,
That's right,
that plaza. Now, I'm going to tell you why. Ms. Gilliard, will you please? Okay, thank you. And I'm going to tell you why. Because he was the one that changed the dynamic of what that shopping center was. When things got bad, he pulled units together, made them bigger. He brought in nightclubs and things of this nature. Is that their fault? No, it's his fault. So Shayla, as I look at this, I want to make sure that as we go in the future, how are we going to mandate that this doesn't happen again to anybody else when they are coming into, want to redo a retail shopping center into something that it wasn't zoned for. You got me?
Please, sir.
Now here's the solution. The solution is very simple to me. The land to the left of her place is a wetland and it's owned by Shiv Agarwal. You can't build anything on it, but you can come in there with gravel and stuff and make a parking lot. All right. And you can charge people to go in there if you like. That's the only way that Nicole's going to be happy. Monica's going to be happy in resolving this issue. Now, let me just leave something else to you, Mr. Pike. Mr. Pike.
Yes, sir.
Okay, I want you to know that I have two people right now. If Shiv does not want to comply to what I'm saying now, I have two people right now that will buy the land from Shiv for the making of a parking lot. See, that's my solution, Mr. Pike. Ms. Reed, because if we don't do something to curtail this kind of thing, these retail places now being exploited into something else, we're going to continue to have this problem. So Nicole, I want you to know that I would love to get with you, along with the district commissioner, along with the police department, fire department, and code enforcement, and Ms. Coleman, as a unified force to get to Shiv Agarwal and say, look, man, this is the only way we're going to resolve this issue. This man is 100% occupied. He's occupied 100%. That's my solution. Monica, Nicole, and the other part of the solution includes you all. So I'm willing to go forward and do that. So at this time, I'm going to acknowledge who is DFR?
It's Councilmember Rao.
Oh, okay. I've never seen that before. We're gonna do Carmelita, Ms. Gomes is next, and then we'll hear from Ms. Gilliard, and then we'll go to vote.
Thank you
Thank you, Mayor, for that recommendation. I do think at the crust of this problem is a traffic and parking problem. And of course, I agree with what's been stated. That does not allow one business owner in that plaza. And it's not a new problem. It's something that we have to move to that solution. So I was going to ask if the motion could be amended to allow for her to continue to operate under her temporary until you all can work through the solutions that you talk about as it relates to that plaza, so it wouldn't have an adverse impact while you're also addressing the needs raised by these residents, because it is important that we deal with this because it's a long-standing issue.
We can deal with that, Dr. Rob, but let me tell you this. If it's approved by the police department, even though if we don't make any changes in our conversation with Shiv Agarwal, then you still have an approval on this liquor license. I'm all right with that as long as we give extension of the liquor license to an appropriate time that we can work it out. All right.
Would 45 days be sufficient, or our next regular meeting?
I think either one is sufficient. I mean, 45 days should be fine with me.
So, Mayor, because our motion to approve, I'm just wanting to get an understanding. Our motion to approve, she's motioning to amend. I don't agree with the amendment. So what do we do? Are we going to vote on the amendment, and then if that doesn't pass, we
will vote on her motion first.
Okay.
Dr. Rowell, are you making a substitute motion?
Yes, I am.
Will you state that motion, please?
That Ms. Coleman's temporary license be extended for 45 days. And in that period of time, the mayor and appropriate city departments will work with the plaza owner to deal with a parking solution for the plaza.
Is there a second?
So moved.
I got you, Ms. Gomes. I ain't forgot you. It's properly moved and second. Question, Ms. Gomes.
So I guess the discussion is, number one, is Chief, are you able to do that within your legal bounds? Are you able to extend the temporary license, or does she have to go through an additional step, or does it lapse?
So the code only gives me the authority to give 30 days for a liquor license, and the body has the ability to do, I guess, whatever it wants, but my authority only extends for that period of time.
Correct. And what they're asking for goes beyond that. It's the body's recommendation, Ms. Gomes.
Okay.
Am I allowed to speak again or no? I'm sorry, I don't know that.
No, you're not.
Okay.
Ms. Gomes, are you finished?
So no, I'm not. And again, I understand completely, both sides. I've spoken extensively with the HOA, and then I've also spoken with Ms. Coleman as well in regards to the situation. And I do understand we've been here before. We've attempted to do this with, getting Mr. Agrawal to provide that space, next door to alleviate some of the parking issues. Of course, we want people to come to the city of South Fulton and definitely have a wonderful experience. In this process, there has been, I guess, within that 3 weeks, I've understand that there have been definitely great exposure for the city of South Fulton as far as, this small woman, small Black business by, a woman, and in an industry that is really not, mostly familiar with, cigars and things of that nature, whatever it's called. But my thing is that we've had communication, and if there is a way that we could, move forward with providing her with her license with conditions added. Again, I've spoken with the HOA. I don't necessarily think it's fair for us to particularly single her out, but I also understand their concerns as well. So, hoping that there will be some type of happy medium to where we can begin to work on this process with Mr. Agrawal, or even having him to purchase, have somebody to purchase the land would be very helpful. I want us to be very sensitive, number one, to each side, a new business coming into the city of South Fulton, but also at the same time, being concerned about the quality of life of our residents. And I just don't know where we can fall in line in the middle, because again, what if, discussions or real estate discussions do not come to fruition in regards to this land, and then we're back at square one. So we have to really be cognizant and within our legal authority to hold this young lady's liquor license. That's my comment. And I do believe that we have some solutions. Ms. Coleman has presented hers, as well as the HOA. And I just think that we have a task force as well that has been established by the fire chief. And we need to use the city's officials to come together and bring together a meeting as soon as possible. But that's my comments. And I just really want us to be able to work together and not harm new businesses, but also being mindful of the quality of life of our residents.
That's why I'm going. Before I go to Ms. Gilliard, did you, in your motion, say how long, if we were to extend the liquor license, how long we would extend it to?
So I think Ms. Rao said 45
Ms.
days.
I'm sorry, Ms. Rao, it was yours. Did you say how long?
I did say 45 days, hoping
Okay,
that we can move the needle on these conversations in a timely manner.
Make sure that I just want to make sure. Ms. Gilliard? Ms. Gilliard?
Okay, I was wondering if there was any vacant land, and you addressed it when you talked about it. That is really, really the solution, because all of the spots are filled. The owner is making money.
Yes.
And the more money the owner, the more business, the more people that find out about those businesses, it's just going to be more and more people. And so the parking lot just has to be expanded. And the fact that it can be used for expansion, and this is gonna help the owner, and there are all kinds of possibilities with the parking. So that is probably the only solution. Okay. But you said it quite well, Mayor Edwards, because getting together, with everyone to try and purchase the land for that purpose, and to let the community know. But in the meantime, there needs to be some kind of policing in the parking lot to ease the pain and suffering while those negotiations are going on.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Adams, let's vote on the, excuse me a minute, hold on a minute. Mr. Reeves, you got something that you want to say?
Yes, sir. After hearing the district representative speak, I want to withdraw my second and let her lead the efforts for that. She's been working with them for quite some time. So let's just let her see it through.
Okay. Let's vote on the on Ms. Gunn's motion first, Mr. Adams.
Mayor, point of order. Ms. Gums doesn't have a motion. Councilmember Rao made the motion.
I'm sorry. You're right. You're right.
But Mayor, Councilmember Reeves just withdrew his second. So now she does not have a second on her substitute motion. So unless somebody second it, we just go back to approving the permanent liquor license.
Thank you so much. You're absolutely right. Was familiar that Mr. Reed was the second on it.
Mayor, before we continue, I know that there was a rebuttal for both sides, but if there is a way that both Ms. Hall can share what she has outlined and what Ms. Coleman has outlined in their community conversations of what can be implemented in that meantime, is it okay for me to ask them that, or?
Oh, I think that we have closed public hearing.
Oh, we have, okay.
Yeah, and that if that's to be something more to be said about that, we can say it at the time we meet with the owner, if that's what we're going to do. I don't know.
Okay.
So what's the motion, Mr. Adams?
We have the main motion, a motion by Mayor Pro Tem Willis, seconded by Councilmember Gumbs to approve the alcohol license for Stanley's of Georgia.
Okay. Vote, please.
Roll call vote. Councilmember Rao.
Yes.
Councilmember Gumbs.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Willis.
Yes.
Councilmember Gilliard.
Yes.
Councilmember Reeves.
Aye.
Councilmember Khalid.
Yes.
Councilmember Baker.
Aye.
That item was approved unanimously.
Okay. Thank you all so much. Next
So
item.
thank you. I just wanted to make sure, Mayor, I just want to make sure that it is on record that we will be calling this meeting to address these issues immediately in regards to this concerns from the HOA.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Thank you.
Okay, next item, please.
Next item is item 27, a public hearing, the 2040 City of South Fulton Comprehensive Plan.
Greetings, Mayor and Council. I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Okay. Greetings, Mayor and Council. This item before you is a request to have the public comment on the comprehensive plan. We've had this item come before you a number of times. As recent 2 weeks ago, the Atlanta Regional Commission presented to you its findings to tell you exactly what will be included in the comprehensive plan before sending the file out to the Department of Community Affairs. So we'll be sending that out to DCA as soon as the public comment portion is received. So tonight we're asking to open the floor for public comment. Thank you for your time.
Okay. I'm going to at this time open the floor for public comment. Mr. Clerk.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor and Council, we have 4 comments. I'll read them into the record. The first is from Charles Mitchell, District 4. He states, "Good evening. Hope this finds all who are participating in theirs well and doing great. I'm concerned that many on the council campaigned on being transparent and reaching out to their constituents for the constituents' input on matters before the city. This is not happening. Many of us and potential developers interested in investing in our city have requested information from our councilwoman in order to make critical decisions. Routinely, Councilwoman Gilliard has delayed and stonewalled by staff in her attempt to provide this critical information that our constituents and potential developers are requesting before making decisions to invest in this city. What is the intent in denying to give her this information? Further, Councilwoman Gilliard has responded to her constituents by preparing and proposing modifications to the overlays in her district to better accommodate the potential development in her district, including the Campbellton Crossroads development. The modifications that she is proposing will help mirror the development requirements in Chattahoochee Hills portion of the development and provide continuity. The Cliftondale overlay must be updated as well as to provide continuity. I encourage mayor and council to be more proactive in providing guidance for this development by adopting these overlay modifications. Next is a comment from Dan Laurie. Too many vehicles that are over 30 feet long are using side roads to avoid traffic between major roads as shown on the plan. The roads are clearly marked to show no vehicles over 30 feet long are allowed, and City of South Fulton police are not issuing citations even when they are patrolling behind the vehicle. An example is Fellwood Road. As the city continues to grow and more larger vehicles enter the city limits, how is the city going to better control keeping these large vehicles off the connecting streets to preserve the residential area? The next comment is from Kai Burris. Have our city be innovative with the ideas. Waterfront walking areas with beautiful green spaces. Electronic stations for washing hand or refilling water containers inside and outside of facilities. Electronic advertising boards. Bridges that connect locations together or incorporate them with your planning, however you come up with the design. I would like to see a city where it resembles the Midtown Georgia Tech area. If you frequent that area, it is an environment for work, residential, and residential. Thank you. And the last comment is from Drew Demand. He states, I hope the hearing on the 28th makes some allowance for those of us who did not receive any notification on the subject at all. I have reached out to a few different parties in city government, but nobody ever helped me get connected to the process. I'm sure I'm not alone in this. I request that further public input be allowed on phases 1 and 2. My community has been under siege from warehouse and logging industries, and we deserve to have our voices heard where land uses issues are concerned. We have specific environmental, land use, development concerns that are very important to all of us. Please contact me with further information. That completes the public comment.
Okay, we'll hear from Ms. Gilliard.
I went through a lengthy process to get information from the community as it relates to the two overlays in the district, the agricultural overlay and the Cedar Grove overlay. And I looked at other cities to see, particularly those cities that are suburban, somewhat rural, et cetera, and those that might have a little bit of agriculture, and came up with overlays that I submitted to the city in early August. And at the end of August, the moratorium was over. And the moratorium, there was a 90-day moratorium to go through that process. So when I got to the end of it, I was told by CDRA that those overlays could not be implemented before the comprehensive plan was final, because they have to go to the commission first and then to the council for a vote. And so it was really, really out of time. And so it's supposed to happen maybe 60 or 90 days after the comp plan is finalized. I'm not comfortable with that because this is not the first time that I've received information about what will happen that never happens. And so in addition to that, I believe it was in December or maybe a little before that, that an ordinance was written where four of us, and there were four of us on it, that asked that we have adequate community input before the comp plan was completed for the zoning. And that did not really occur. There was one public meeting. There wasn't going to be another one, and I really complained a lot about it. I attended the second public meeting. Instead of it being a meeting about the comp plan, the majority of the people that came to the meeting aired, complaints and they were legitimate complaints, but it was supposed to be a comp plan meeting. That did not occur. And so I know that some community members in Cliftondale have asked for us as a city to go to DCA and ask for an extension, whether or not that's possible, whether or not we can do it or not, but something needs to be done because the community really, really feels left out. And I feel like we've done all of this work. And then I look at the comp plan and I see that there's a suburban 1 and a suburban 2. Suburban 1 has 5 homes to an acre, up to. Suburban 2 has 8 homes up to an acre. And for the majority of the people that live in South Fulton, particularly in those areas that are not dense, if you talk about density, they will really, really be upset. And the first thing that they will say is that we did not move here for that. So the comp plan really does not represent, in some areas, what the people really, really want. And that's an issue.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Gilliard. Mr. Reeves?
Mr. Chair, if this is the public hearing and the council meeting format, and 4 people commented, why is the comp plan public hearing not its own separate deal to get the adequate public comments? Because 4 people out of 107,000 residents, I'm just not sure that is adding up. And I think that we should have one more rather quickly and advertise adequately so that we can just hear from more people on public comment, because I'm certain that people have comments on this comprehensive plan, but just did not know. And because public comment period closed 5:00 p.m. yesterday, and they was trying to get in today to make a presentation to the board, to the council, I'm just saying that I think that we should really consider that.
Okay. Mr. Khalid, go ahead. I'll follow you.
Okay. I'm not sure. This is my first city. This is my first time being a city councilman. So I don't really have a frame of reference for the amount of engagement in other cities. I will say that several of us have been writing about this in our newsletters. I know that I held a town hall about the comp plan. I sent a mailer out to at least 5,000, maybe 10,000 residents, and maybe 30 people showed up for that meeting. So I'm not sure that I want to give our city credit. I think that we've done almost all that we can do with the budget that we have. I'm not sure that people really understand what a comp plan is if we just haven't developed a culture of civic engagement. It is one of the reasons that I worry about having these meetings online. I think that that's part of creating the culture. But I'm just not sure there's much more that we can do. And I think that in some of these issues, we are just going to have to lead as council. I do have a specific question. I remember at our Tuesday, April 4th work session, Atlanta Regional Commission Planner Jared Lombard was here, and I asked specifically, is the drop dead deadline to get everything done October 31st? And his response was, there is no penalty for missing the date, except that is the date we have to apply to retain our qualified local government status for certain grants and aid. So my first question is for finance. What state grants and aid is South Fulton getting? Have we ever gotten? Are there grants that we would lose out on that we currently have?
Ms. Bembry? Ms. Bembry, that's a question for you.
Yes, good evening, Mayor and Council. I am in receipt of your question, and I would need to defer to our grants administrator, Kelly, for a specific response to that answer. It will take me some time to pull the information to respond. I don't have it readily available.
Well, my argument would be if we're not receiving any grants, then we don't have to worry about losing any grants if we delay this, because there isn't any other penalty. My second question, and no one may know the answer to this either, but how long were we to extend this past October 31 and lose our qualified local government status? How long would it take to requalify if we move this to November 15th and then we reapplied on November 15th, but we have it back by November 30th?
Sir Mayor, may I please answer those questions?
Ms. Bembry, you have no response to that. We want Ms. Reed to answer the question.
Sure, that'd be fine.
Go ahead, Ms. Reed.
Okay, thank you for the opportunity. I want to first note that the grants that we're speaking of, in order to be a qualified local government, of course, the comprehensive plan has to be adopted on schedule. So that means that if past October 31st, 2021, we do not have that particular file adopted, that means we will not be eligible for grants, as you noted. However, those grants, you have LCIs, you have CDAPs, you have a number of programs that we were just awarded recently. We will no longer be eligible for those opportunities. So with that being said, I wouldn't believe that we would want to risk the opportunity for the LCI that we're having to rewrite for Old National. For the town center, we just recently received for the awarding of drafting that language, in addition to the board training that we have. So we have received 3 programming that should you not adopt this on time, we will lose access to those opportunities. Thank you, Sir Mayor.
Okay.
And I'm sorry, was there an answer to how long it would take to reapply?
I do not have an answer to that because I've never missed that deadline. So that deadline has always been met under my watch.
Awesome. Thank you.
Okay, I have now Ms. Willis.
So let me make this clear. I'm directing my concerns to the city manager. Ms. Sadler Jones, I did do a mailer to my constituents, over 6,000 of them. I did get a pretty good turnout. It was about maybe 100 people in the parking lot, town hall. I did, so you were on a conversation with some major community members last week, and they told you their feelings about how they felt like they weren't engaged and residents weren't given an opportunity to have true input in this process, and they were talked to and not listened to. And I am concerned because this plan states is 2035. So this impacts our future land use. And all of us on this council are getting blasted on a daily basis about developers coming in, putting up development that was approved prior to us becoming a city, and it just does not meet the standards that we want, and the standards that we want to see. And so I am very concerned that we're just being told we got to do this October 30th, or we lose opportunity for grants and opportunity. Yes, all of that is important. But what I have asked, and what we told the constituents last week, we were going to go to DCA and ARC and ask if we could get an extension without losing our status. This is a new city. We have a blank canvas. We have the most undeveloped land in Fulton County. I mean, we're in the midst of a national pandemic. All of that should be a case for us to get a month or 2 extension so that we could properly engage our residents. Can you please, Mr. Toms or either Mr. Adler Jones, tell this council what feedback you may have gotten, or if you have gotten any feedback from that extension request?
Thank you, Councilmember Willis. Mr. Toms, do you mind addressing that question? Because I know you reached out to our rep at ARC, and I believe Mr. Toms also reached out to DCA just to confirm and do our due diligence based upon our office on when that information had to be submitted.
Yes. Good evening, Mayor and Council. I did reach out to some contacts at DCA in regards to the potential of any extension. And there is a document and a form that we could fill out to request the extension. However, the DCA representative said that it is very rare that they do grant the extension. I believe his words was he's seen it happen, less than 5 times over the past 10 years. I did note that we were a new community, but again, there is a form that we could go through. We could engage a little bit more. But they did notify me that it was not very common to get an extension passed.
So, and Mayor, I mean, this national pandemic isn't common. I mean, we're in a national unique situation, and our data shows that we have the fastest growing senior population. There is a huge digital divide in our city. And so, I mean, I would ask that we do everything in our power to try to get that extension. Explain to them this is a unique situation. We're in the middle of a national pandemic. There's a huge digital divide. We need more time to engage our residents on such an important matter that impacts our future land use. We've had several staff turnover, and I'll reserve that to executive session. I will even tell them about that.
Okay.
I yield.
Okay, Mr. Khalid, I will follow and we'll move on.
I have my hand raised.
Oh, I'm sorry, Ms. Rao, it'll be you and then I'll follow you. Go ahead, Mr. Khalid.
I actually agree with Councilwoman Willis. I don't know if we need to make a motion. I make a motion that we apply for this extension. We had an issue. I just want to have a courageous conversation. We had an issue in 2016 where we approved a comprehensive plan only to discover that we weren't going to be able to make any changes to it. We then approved a zoning ordinance only to discover that we weren't satisfied. So it seems that when it comes to our zoning and our land use and development, we are passing things that we are uncomfortable with and being stuck with them. So I think with the pandemic, with the fact of this being a brand new city, and this is actually the first time we've had an opportunity to write a comprehensive plan, I think these are extraordinary circumstances that any rational person at DCA would allow us to have the extension that we're asking for. So I move that we apply for that extension.
Second.
Discussion.
Is that an original motion, Mr. Adams?
Yes, that was the only motion.
Okay, discussion. Go ahead, Mr.
I'm going to go back to what we've been told by DC, who is the first entity that reviews our comprehensive plan. I do not think we should do anything to jeopardize our qualified local government status, particularly given the fact that we have current grants. So we would be not in compliance. And so if we have to adopt and amend, because I do remember Mr. Jared clearly saying that once you adopt it, you do not have to wait that lengthy period of time to go ahead. in the absence of nothing, they'll continue to develop as was in place under Fulton County. At least we have something. I also recall that he also said we can amend all the way up to adoption. So even during the review, changes can be made. And I'm gonna start off with Councilman Khalid saying, which I thought he was actually accurate about. I know I've had town hall meetings. I've heard him say he did mailers. I think you've gotten the engagement that you're going to get. I don't know if every council person did that. It doesn't sound like that was the case, but even up until that time, you could submit comments on the comp plan. And we're also missing two things. We're talking about overlays. The overlays have to do with our zoning ordinance, don't have anything to do with our comp plan. And we're mixing all this stuff together, and it is probably confusing from the public because we confuse it when we talk about it.
I'm not confused.
Like I said, we are mixing. The overlays have nothing to do with the comp plan, period. So I'm just saying, we have been given direction for the first entity that approves our comp plan. I don't think we should be jeopardizing our status.
Really?
It's a bad move.
Ms. Gilliard, will you mute your phone, please? You still haven't done it. Okay, are you finished, Councilman? Dr. Rao?
Yes, I don't want us to jeopardize our status in any way. We can continue to amend, but that is not a good idea when we currently have funding from ARC and the state be based on our qualified. Even that's how we got our CDBG status.
Okay, I'm gonna close this out, and at this time, Mr. Clerk, would you call for a vote?
Yes, the motion on the floor is to apply for an extension with the Department of Community Affairs. That motion was by Councilmember Khalid, second by Mayor Pro Tem Willis. Roll call vote, Councilmember Rao.
No.
Councilmember Gomes. Councilmember Gomes. Mayor Pro Tem Willis.
Yes.
Councilmember Gilliard.
She went on mute. The mayor told her to go.
Yes.
All right, thank you. Councilmember Reeves.
Aye.
Councilmember Khalid.
Yes.
Councilmember Baker. Councilmember Baker?
Hey.
Nay. Okay. That item is approved 4-2.
Corey, I don't know if you can hear me. I'm in a place that's loud.
Okay, I can hear you now.
Mine is no.
No. That item is approved 4-3 to apply for an extension.
Okay, Nick, please.
Point of order, Mr. Mayor.
Yes, sir.
Would it be possible if we get a no to just call a meeting and approve it so that we don't? I hear the concerns about the qualified local government status.
Let me answer that question this way, Mr. Khalid. A letter was put in front of me asking me to sign. I think if I'm not mistaken, Ms. Jones, it was going to DCA or ARC, one of the two. And
yes, it was ARC.
All right, I refused to sign that letter because I did have concerns, like much of you all, about the community participation in that. So I think what you're asking is reasonable because we have to act and we have to act fast. So I think what is reasonable, even if I have to call it myself.
Thank you.
Okay. Next item, Mr. Clerk.
Next item is item 28. This is a public hearing, a resolution approving the exercise of eminent domain for the Butner Road and Camp Creek Parkway project, B500 parcel 3, parcel ID 14F0073 LL0297. And this public hearing and this resolution is sponsored by council members Gomes and Rao.
Okay. I'll entertain a motion, Gums and Rouse.
Well, this is a public hearing, Mr. Mayor.
I'm sorry. Staff, let me get them first.
Good evening again, Mr. Mayor and Council. Just to inform you that Public Works, through our excellent staff who are committed to acquire the rights of way for different projects throughout the city, has followed all the protocols for negotiations and others, and have provided all the proper documentation to our legal department before we started this process.
Okay. I'll open the public hearing, Mr. Adams.
Mr. Mayor, members of council, for this item, Butner Road, we do not have any public comment.
All right. I'll close the public hearing. I got one question to the attorney. Is this for a public good?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
This would be a satisfy public purpose.
Okay, good. That's all I want to know. All right. Next item, please.
We need a vote, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, let's go. Roll call vote.
Roll call vote. Councilmember Rao. Well, actually, we need a motion and a second.
But we did.
No.
I move that we approve the eminent domain for the projects on Eminent Road.
No, this is Butner Road at Camp Creek Parkway.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry, Butner Road and Camp Creek.
Is there a second?
So moved.
Properly moved and second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, let's vote, please.
Roll call vote. Councilmember Rao.
Yes.
Councilmember Gums.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Willis.
Yes.
Councilmember Gilliard.
Yes.
Councilmember Reeves.
Aye.
Councilmember Khalid.
Yes.
Councilmember Baker.
Aye.
That item was approved unanimously.
Okay, next item.
Next item is item 29. This is a public hearing. Also a resolution approving the exercise of eminent domain for the Enan Road Sidewalk Project T268, parcel 10, parcel ID 14F0122 LL0173. This is sponsored by Councilmember Gums. Public hearing.
Staff.
Mr. Mayor, we have followed the proper protocols with proper negotiation records, which have been provided to our legal counsel before coming to you.
Okay. I'll open the public hearing.
Yes, Mr. Mayor and members of council, we do have, we received two comments. We have one person on the line who wishes to provide a live comment. Mr. Todd Landegraaff, who lives on Enan Road, District 2. Would you please unmute yourself, make your statement, and identify your address? You're muted. We can't hear you. Can you?
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you. Hello, council members. So I want to first start off by thanking Mr. Corny Adams for assisting me in getting coordination done today to be able to attend this session. I want to thank you all for the opportunity to address you today. My name is Todd Landgraf. I reside at 3265 Enon Road in College Park. I'm speaking with you today regarding my concerns with the eminent domain action proposed for a portion of my property. I'm opposed to the eminent domain action, and I'm furthermore I'm opposed to the sidewalk project on Enon Road in general, where my house is located. A summary of the reasons of my concern are as follows. My concern for the community and our residents. Sorry?
Go ahead.
First of all, and most importantly, is safety. Enon Road has become a very busy road. That's definitely not conducive for pedestrian traffic. There are subdivisions in the area that are much safer for walking or bicycling. Installing a sidewalk system will only promote pedestrian traffic out on Enon Road. That pedestrian traffic will be much safer if it was continued to be contained within the subdivisions. Furthermore, it's cost, taxpayer dollars. Such a project is going to cost a considerable amount of money, which will undoubtedly exceed well over $1 million. However, there are less than 10 homes that face Enon Road in the area where the proposed sidewalk is to be located. It is my position that the ROI is in definite need of a thorough investigation. Additionally, when this project was initially discussed back by the city of Atlanta a few years ago, I was advised that the intention was to install sidewalks on not just one side of Enon, being my side of Enon Road, but on both sides of Enon Road, even given the limited number of homes that are on Enon Road in this area. My understanding is the sidewalks are still planned for both sides of Enon Road, and this just doubles the project costs and further creates the need for an investigation. So not only are the sidewalks not safe or needed on Enon, having them on both sides is a further waste of precious and limited taxpayer dollars, money that can be directed at many other projects, some of which I've heard you guys discussing during today's call. I'm going to pivot quickly now to my own personal concerns. This sidewalk project will create a considerable curb appeal impact to my residents, which will undoubtedly result in a negative impact to the value of my home. Currently, I have 4 very nice 80-foot trees at the edge of my property, which provide both visual appeal as well as shade for my yard. I also have 2 brick pillars at the end of my driveway with a marble inlay that displays my house number, and one of those pillars houses my mailbox. Based on the minimal amount of details that have been provided to me regarding the project plan, I've been told that the brick pillars and the 4 trees will have to be removed in order for the sidewalk to be installed. I've also been advised that the project will take over a year to complete and will not only involve the removal of the trees and brick pillars, but at the end of my driveway, it will have to be ripped out and replaced as to tie the driveway into the new sidewalk. I've also been told that I will have to drive across my yard and use my neighbor's driveway, along with the silt fence being installed across my yard for several months, hence causing damage to my yard. I'm not even sure if my neighbors provided authorization for me to come in and out of his driveway. A few other quick points. The water meter at the end of my yard will have to be relocated, which will cause an impact to my water service. I have a sprinkler system in place that will have to be relocated. The cost of replacing those trees will be astronomical, and the disruption of coming and going from my house well over a year, along with street lights being installed out near the road. So I'm going to be going from the curb appeal I currently have with my trees and the shade and my brick pillars to a sidewalk, no shade, street lights, a big drainage platform in my ditch, and with no project plan or project schedule being provided other than it's going to take more than a year of us doing this project. All of that has been provided and put in front of me with a compensation of just $500. In conclusion, I would like to repeat my request of validating the safety and the ROI for this project. If the project is confirmed to move forward, I would then request that consideration be given to having just one sidewalk installed on the opposite side of Enon, as there are very few roads on that side, very few homes on that side of the road, to include an old landfill as well, which no homes will ever be placed there. This would allow for the least amount of disruption to local residents that live on Enon, including myself. I thank you again for your time, and I also thank you in advance for any assistance with this matter.
Okay, thank you, sir. Mr. Clerk?
Yes, we have one other comment that was submitted. It was submitted by Glenda Collins on Morning Creek Drive in District 5. She states, the personnel in charge of eminent domain appear to be slack in performing their job. The personnel always appear to be coming behind in purchasing these properties, as opposed to taking the lead when property change hand and then approaching the new owners about modification of the property or eminent domain. Check your list daily, and if vacant, make an effort to move forward on the property. You should not sit back and wait until sold to a new buyer. Besides, policies should be in place for eminent domain prior to moving forward. Then owners will have an understanding of how they will be affected. End of comment.
Did that conclude the comments?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I'm gonna close the public hearing. Ms. Gums, I see your hand up.
So Mayor, I definitely appreciate this information, especially the resident sharing his concerns as well. There are a few concerns that I still have for this particular project moving forward that I just recently found out. I would like to see if we can hold this to our next meeting to make sure that everything is vetted completely. And we will feel comfortable with moving forward at that time. But as of right now, I would not feel comfortable based off of the information that I've received. So I would like to hold this until our next council meeting.
Motion to hold, is there a second?
So moved.
Properly moved in second, discussion. Hearing none, vote please.
Roll call vote to hold. Councilmember Rao.
Yes.
Councilmember Gums.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Willis.
Mike.
Yes.
Councilmember Gilliard. Councilmember Gilliard. Councilmember Reeves.
Aye.
Councilmember
Yes.
Khalid.
Yes.
Councilmember Gilliard.
Yes.
Thank you. Councilmember Baker.
Aye.
That motion is held.
Next item, please.
That completes all the agenda items on today's agenda. We have the executive session if needed.
Yes, it's definitely needed. I would move that we go into executive session to address real estate personnel and litigation.
So moved.
Y'all be in tune to take a 10-minute break.
Yes.
Can we do 15?
We can. Can we do a 15-minute break to go before we go into executive session? Okay, Mr. Reeves, what time? Mr. Adams, what time will we be back then?
7:05.
All right, we'll be back at 7:05.
Roll call. When we got a motion by Mayor Pro Tem Willis, seconded by Councilmember Reeves. Councilmember Rao.
Dr. Rao.
Councilmember Gums.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Willis.
Yes.
Councilmember Gilliard.
Yes.
Councilmember Reeves.
Aye.
Councilmember
Aye.
Khalid.
No.
I got you, Councilmember Rao. Councilmember Baker.
Dr. Baker?
Aye. Aye.
Okay.
That item is approved. We are recessing at 6:52. The executive session will convene at 7:05.
All right.
Recording stopped.